This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome in, alongside the long-lost Egyptian maniac, Pierre Noujaim. I don't know if people knew you were Egyptian. I just told them.
Hey, that's what I usually go for. Ethnically ambiguous. So that's usually again. So yeah.
Well, look, here's the thing: in media jobs, you can't you kind of have to just, what is he? We don't know. We can't ask.
That's why I always check other. That's my favorite part of the job interview process.
Yeah. And then they'll sit down and they'll be like, Pierre, he's got to be French. He has to be.
Right.
But I can't.
Right.
But I can't say that.
Right. Correct.
Yeah. No,
and then we go down this windy road of, might as well pull out a map. And I say, just pick one and see if you we'll do warmer or colder.
And then they can and then that's how you get the job, because they're like, well, I think you're this. And you go, how dare you?
Yeah, exactly. They're like, no. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm sorry I ruined your whole other game. Now people are going to know.
Cover's blown.
That's it.
Cover is blown.
It's
now
over.
For sure.
It's over.
Yeah, I'm sure I might still milk it for a little bit, through at least one more time, maybe.
Yeah. You know who really has that advantage? And I love him. He's great on SportsCenter. Is Gary Struski.
Oh yeah.
Because he's Korean, but I guarantee you, many people see his name and they're like, oh, it's a good old dude from Chicago coming in, and then
that's a good Polish Chicago name right there, no doubt about it, no doubt.
And then I mean, it's not that it's not, but I mean, you could be more than one thing, right?
Correct.
And so I've always wondered, how many people he comes in I'm Gary Struski, and they're like, no, where is he really?
That's part of what makes America so great is it's just limitless possibility for you, your name, it's just limitless.
Yes. We're a wonderful country most of the time.
We are indeed.
We're like 75-25. We're good.
I think that's fair. I think that's about right.
75% of the country, it's great all the time. We have no complaints. But we have, and it fluctuates. I think 25 is the max bad that we've had since the 60s, right?
I think most countries would kill for a 75%.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We'll take 3 out of 4. But the problem is when you get to that fourth thing, it's always a really bad thing.
Correct.
Yeah. Yes. So, but it's a great country, but I'll take it. So Pierre, you and I have not seen each other in what has been,
I think 3 weeks.
3 weeks. It feels like a month almost, it does.
Yeah.
Let me first off by saying you would have loved the Super Bowl in Vegas.
Oh, man.
You'd have absolutely loved it.
Would I have, though? Would I have survived the first day?
See, here's how I feel, Pierre. I am sad that you weren't there because you would have loved it. I'm also happy that you weren't there because I am now still alive.
Yes.
So,
yes. Where was the media party?
Oh, look. Okay, Garrett, get on mic here. So the media party.
Where was it held?
Okay, you're going to love this. The media party was at the F1 track.
You're kidding me.
No, it's at the F1 track, which is
my God.
In the coolest place that an F1 track ever could be. It's just it's right in the middle of Vegas. I mean, right in the middle. You're sitting there and you look out and there's the Sphere and there's Caesars and the Bellagio.
Everything.
You could just see it's such a great view.
Wait, is that a permanent track there now? Oh, I thought it is.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to remove it for Super Bowl or whatever, get rid of whatever it is they were. But that's a permanent thing there now.
No,
wow.
It's there. I mean, it's very the buses parked on the track. I mean, that's where when we got on and off the buses, that's where they were. And so the bottom floor was it was outside they had a bunch of Asian fusion food trucks, which all were very good, but sometimes you had to go, you're giving me what now?
Yeah, right. Yes.
This is okay. I mean, all right, I trust you. You've got to do what's going to make, because they only give you a little sample of it. So you have to trust that this thing is really, really good. What they're giving you, that they're not going to be oh, this is just something experimental we do in our kitchen. But yeah, so the Asian fusion trucks were downstairs. The last thing we had down there was this hot dog that was absolutely out of this world.
Awesome.
I didn't even know. I couldn't even tell you what was on it.
Well, you got two ones. You had a spicy one, and then you had a naan. I think the naan I got had garlic aioli, bacon, and
I had the spicy one.
Awesome.
It was really good.
Was it a hot dog with like naan bread?
It wasn't naan bread.
No, it was. I don't know. It was a bun. Awesome. It was a bun, but it wasn't like it had a very.
It wasn't Pink's, was it? I think they pulled out of there a while ago.
It wasn't Pink's. No,
okay.
It was an Asian hot dog. I mean, like it was.
Okay.
So it was some kind of hot dog that had, you know, Korean flair to it, I think. And so then downstairs is the car museum, and so that's fine and all, but you're kind of walking around going like, if this is the whole thing, then Vegas really kind of whiffed, right? Like this is cool and all, but like I'm kind of over this in 20 minutes. And I saw a couple of my buddies from Albany, Levesque, and Gaz, and they were like, this sucks. We're going to go to the sports book. And so they left. Mistake. Huge mistake. So you go out of the bottom floor, you get on the escalator, and you go up to floor number 2. Floor number 2 is Old Vegas. They've got table games.
So awesome.
They've got Sinatra playing. They've got an Elvis impersonator.
Elvis's daughter, like stepdaughter, was in there.
His cousin, some kind of random Elvis relative. Like, come talk to this guy. His half brother.
Yeah,
Elvis's half brother was there, and so like Elvis's half brother. You know, all these like different things. The food, like they have Italian food up there that was really good, pizza and meatballs and. Everything. I mean, like these mac and cheese balls as big as your fist. I mean, just.
Was there a craps table up there, second floor?
Craps table,
everything.
Roulette, blackjack, poker, all of it up there.
Oh, man.
You know, showgirls, you know, with the big.
Yeah, the feathers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like the Elvis impersonator was 68 comeback Elvis. So it's like the tweener Elvis. You know, da-da-da, you know, came out. It was really, he did a great show. Garrett, finally, in his life, was your grandpa?
So my father-in-law,
his
big
father-in-law,
Elvis fan.
Huge Elvis fan.
Okay, I too like Elvis. I'm probably not as hardcore as Garrett's father-in-law, but yes.
I'm a big Elvis fan. He's the king for a reason.
The king.
Yeah. So Garrett finally got it.
I never understood it. I've never understood the whole Elvis thing. I saw this guy and was like, damn, I wish I could have seen the real Elvis live. Like, it was awesome, man.
Yeah. So it was it was really cool. Then on the third floor was like a club.
Yep.
And that's not really our scene, except for the fact that in that club was the Jabberwockies and the Blue Man Group. So the Blue Man Group.
Way.
So the Blue Man Group's like throwing marshmallows at your mouth, trying to do that. And the Jabberwockies are doing a thing. Yeah, taking selfies and stuff. Yeah. It was wild, dude.
Awesome.
Yes.
That is awesome.
And then here's the thing. And people may not know this watching this. As you go up each level, you get drunker and drunker.
Yeah, well.
Because the drinks are free.
Right.
And if you find the right bartender, he's doing heavy pours because once he's out, he gets to go home.
Wow.
That was his deal. So,
did you get, was there any credit given for the tables at all?
That we could not figure that out.
Okay.
We couldn't figure that out. So we decided not to do that. Like, and we didn't it's one of those things like we didn't want to ask because we didn't want to seem uncool. So it's like one of those things what do we do here? How do I play roulette?
I would have taken that bullet for you. Actually, you know what? The sound of that sounds actually strategically perfect. You get a little food on the first floor, and then suddenly you're starting to kick
Adam
it up
West
a notch.
Batmobile, things like that. Yeah.
You're kicking it up a notch, whether I won or lost money at the tables, then I'm either really happy or I need a recovery at the Unsuns, club in the third level. Oh, they did that perfectly.
Yeah, no, it was wonderful. It was a magical night. It was a magical night that ended us Smokey left. The thing started at 7. Right?
Okay.
7.
Yeah.
It was like 7 to 11.
Okay.
7 to 11. Well, again, it's Vegas, so they have to get theirs in before Vegas happens.
Right.
And so Smokey probably left at 8:15, if not before. Like, we got off the bus. That's the last time I saw him.
Yep.
I saw him at one of the food trucks. He especially loves that kind of food. So I saw him at one of the trucks. I knew like I knew my name. But as soon as he saw all he needed to see, he was getting back on the bus. We actually just called an Uber and went back the Airbnb, and we stayed at one of the few. Here's the other thing: we stayed at one of the few Airbnbs that are legally allowed in the county or the city of Las Vegas.
That?
So
how about that?
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, what were the table limits that weekend, or that whole week, I should say?
The weekend we weren't there. We left on Friday afternoon, so we didn't see what they were.
Okay.
But I can tell you just from a couple of, one late night walk through Mandalay Bay by myself, by the way. By myself.
My bad. My bad. I wanted pizza. I had to go.
By myself. I didn't see a table under 25.
That's actually not as bad as I thought it would be.
And that was on Wednesday night.
Okay.
But I'm assuming that Friday that went up. So
funny enough, the last time I was in Mandalay Bay, I just got done with dinner at Stripped Steak. Delicious, absolutely fantastic.
We walk past it every day.
Yeah. Oh, phenomenal place. Turn around as I'm leaving dinner. I look over my shoulder. Brittany Griner's walking behind me. Oh. That was the last time I was in Mandalay Bay. Oddly enough,
she was just here this weekend.
Oh, okay. Funny enough,
yes,
she got on the show.
What? No, that was the disappointing part. We really wanted to get her, but she was not it's a different thing now with Brittany. I mean, she's much more than just a basketball player because of what she went through. And what I feel, and I'll just, while we're being candid, Pierre was here during that time, so he knows. What I feel was a great wrong was righted over this weekend in the fact that Brittany Griner's jersey had never been retired.
I saw that.
Yep. The only reason it had never been retired was because Kim Mulkey didn't want it to be. And they had a personal conflict based on an interview she gave to Kate Fagan. And
I remember that.
Instead of working through it as people who are supposed to care about each other do, Kim decided to hold it over Brittany's head and keep the best player that will ever play basketball at Baylor, or possibly any women's college basketball player ever, depending on your metric. You know, I mean, there's Caitlin Clark and Cheryl Swoops and, other people you can put up in this category. But a game changer like no other, Brittany Griner is, was here, played here, won a national championship here, went 40-0 here when they won that national championship. And because the coach was a little bit miffed at her, nobody can walk into the arena and see number 42 hanging on the rafters, which that's the only sport that actually does retire jerseys, the only one. And so when you look up and you're like, hey, I see all these other people, but I, as a casual fan, is wondering why Brittany Griner's jersey isn't up there. Well, because of petty bitterness. And that's why. So, but a great wrong was righted this weekend. And Brittany Griner can now be back in the program and help Baylor basketball, women's basketball grow. And Nikki Collins all about it. And Nikki Collins knew her from the WNBA anyway, so it was a bit of an easier transition. This was actually, I think, supposed to happen sooner, but Vladimir Putin got in the way of it. So
unfortunate, as he does, as he tends to do.
Such a strange thing to not have a jersey retirement ceremony on schedule because the basketball player was wrongfully detained in Russia.
That's
for nearly a year. So I think that what the plan was, and then it was one of those things that we're going to do it. Got to find time. And then everything got so hot over there. And then all of a sudden it's oh, she's over there. How did this all go down? So but she was here. Kim Coulter asked, were we in Old Town? I said, no. I say, when I say Old Vegas, describing the party, I mean
feeling
Ocean's 11 Vegas. And I don't mean Clooney Ocean's 11. I mean Sinatra, the original Ocean's 11, the Sands and that kind of thing. Don Rickles Vegas.
Back when men were men and the slots were loose and the steak dinner was $5.99. That's when it was.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it was. I mean, it was great. So it does feel unfortunate that of all the people I know in the media that would cover a Super Bowl for any reason, this was really a year for the Vikings not to kind of screw you over and be terrible.
Yes.
And have the 11th pick in that.
Correct.
This would have been.
And but if the media party ended at 11, you knew I would have no problem standing up wherever in the middle it was to say, where's everybody going? It's over? What are we doing? Let's keep going.
No, I can tell you, we got off the bus and then people just filed. They dropped us off. The media hotel was the Luxor. And
okay. Interesting choice. Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of Egypt.
Yeah. There was not that then. It was a Dorito.
Yeah.
But so anyway, they dropped everybody at the Luxor. We just walked to the Uber thing because we were gassed, and but we watched other than a stop in the bathroom, we didn't stop anywhere. But I watched that whole bus behind us go right out of the thing and right into the casino. There was no. Once they got off that walkway, it was all over. So. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I'm sorry I missed it. Yeah, I really am, pal. I really am.
I know. Again, and then look, I'll tell you Wednesday night, where I got left alone in the Mandalay Bay is we've told this story a million times. We went to the Mob Museum, which is in
so awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a great thing. The bartender at the Mob Museum gives you a whole history lesson on old fashions and Manhattans and gin and tonics and all that stuff. It's phenomenal. Great. I'm serious in when I say this. Garrett and I have already talked about it. Garrett and I are going to call this guy and produce a YouTube series where we sit at the bar and he gives lessons, and then maybe we can take him to other historical bars around the country and do it, because it
sounds like a great idea.
People need to see this. It would only exist in a place like Vegas, really, where it doesn't sound weird. If you just went to a bar in Minneapolis and the guy's like, well, by the way, did you know that originally the old fashioned is called old fashioned because it's the first cocktail, and this is why it's the first cocktail. You'd be like, buddy, where are my chicken fingers?
Yeah, exactly.
But in this setting, it just worked so well. And the guy also, part of it wasn't that he was giving the information; he was just really good at it. He had showmanship. He had flair. He knew
someone who takes pride in his work. I appreciate that.
Conversational. But so after that, we hadn't eaten. And so I said, okay, we're going to go back to the Mandalay Bay. We got a bunch of media people that are hanging out at this Irish pub called Rira's there. It's really good. And so we're going to Rira, and I meet up with these friends. And Garrett and Emery are so hungry. They saw so many people. They thought,
it was so packed.
It's so packed. Well, Garrett and Emery left, and honestly, it felt like the rest of the people that were in there that weren't us were like, well, Garrett and Emery left. This place must be lame. So they just followed them out, and then they went home and ate cereal.
We didn't get no damn food either.
Yeah, what?
The pizza place was closed.
Yeah, the pizza place was closed.
You were over there eating fish and chips.
I had fish and chips at 11:45 p.m. It was great.
As one does. I mean, why not?
Then, it did take all I could do, knowing that we had to be up early Thursday morning, because Thursday's the busiest day, to not stop at the tables and be like, you know what? Yeah, let's let it ride here. I had some cash in my pocket. I was ready to go. But I was also like, man, I have had a lot of alcohols. I had.
Anybody come up on the positive side money-wise?
Okay, so Emery, Smokey did a thing that was really cool. He gave us all money. Mm-hmm. We went to a really, I'll just say it, it's a shitty-ass casino.
Very ratchet.
Okay.
It was a ratchet-ass casino. But here's the thing. That was what made it fun. That's what level of when you go into a dive bar and it's felt like that. There was a Bass Pro Shops in there. That's the kind of casino it was. Okay. So we went in there and Smokey was here. We split the winnings, or you lose whatever. Garrett lost all but 78 cents.
I got 5 cents.
He got a nickel. He was playing slots. Smokey was playing slots. Emery, our other production intern, he doubled the money and then some, playing roulette and other things. And I thought, roulette, what are you doing, buddy? This is it's a sucker's game here. But he played it well. I lost half of it and was like, no, here, I'm just going to give you your $50 back. I was up about 50, $60, and then I started it was also, here's why it was a crappy casino. It was because it was Thursday night. It was dead in there. And it was one of those ones that had all these reinvented games. It wasn't there was it was like blackjack, but it had a name to it. So you're playing
with a twist.
Yeah. I want here's the thing. Who has more, me or you? That's all I want. That's what I want for blackjack. Does the dealer have more? Do I have more? And that's my favorite game to play in a casino. Okay. Look, I know blackjack pretty well. I just want to go in. You give me my cards. I decide if I want to hit or stay. And then I watch you do your thing, and I determine what's happening. That's all.
Right.
I'm drinking. I don't need strategy.
Yeah.
I don't.
No, you're not counting cards here. I mean, it's not like some kind of movie. Like you just, 21 or not.
No, absolutely not. So yeah, but you've been to San Francisco, right? You went to San Francisco.
I was in San Francisco. For the Super Bowl, but all of my friends are 49ers fans, save for one of my best friends who married one of my best friends here, who works with me at Fox 9. Funny enough, Jennifer. She was born and raised in Kansas, so she's a huge Chiefs fan. Okay. So we were all watching it, and it's all 49ers fans, and then there's Jennifer in her Chiefs gear. And at the end, I turn to her and I see the suppressed jubilation on her face as everyone, the mood was just so somber. And I didn't want to tell anybody that I won a lot of money on the Chiefs winning. So, it was, I was in the Bay Area, not a cloud in the sky for 3 days straight. It was gorgeous out there. It was a spectacular trip.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, great. So and then, so then you had your days are getting moved around. We're going to see you kind of in succession here.
Yeah.
The last show this week and the first show next week. So we're making up for lost time.
We are.
Yeah. So we'll take a break right here. We'll come back and get into actual sports here in a second. Pierre, I've known you for a long time, and I know that one of the things you've always wanted, like most college football fans, is an expanded playoff. And we're getting it. Yeah. Before we're getting it, it might be getting bigger as soon as this first run is over. That might be a little premature. We'll talk about that next. This is 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Alongside Pierre Noujaim, our long-lost friend. Pierre, one more thing to wrap up Vegas.
Yes.
Kim Coulter, by the way, says hates to hit 17. 17 is the worst thing you can hit. Or a soft 16. I don't like the soft 16.
Yeah, I find 16 to be way worse than 17. 17, I'm just staying. I mean, and I'm letting the chips where they fall on that one. 16 is a tough one.
Yeah, I don't like when the dealer's showing a face card. That messes me up. But I will say this. There's one thing, and I've been wanting to talk about this. Garrett and I brought it up. Mm-hmm. So at the Mandalay Bay, they have the Michael Jackson 1 show, which is the hologram.
Okay.
So I'll just tell you, I've heard it's very realistic that in the middle of the show, he picks a young boy out of the crowd and ruins his life. And then we all pretend like nothing happened at the end.
Right.
Until the end.
Yeah.
And then we feel uncomfortable about what we've just done. Mm-hmm. So, no, that's weird. To me, it's weird. And the reason I thought of it today in particular was there's a bit of a controversy at Penn State in Happy Valley where they've got some trustees trying to make shadow illegal decisions to name the stadium after Joe Paterno, which is not going to go over well.
No.
And so I thought about it. I was like, it is weird that that would come up. And then the first thing I thought of was every day we were doing our show from Mandalay Bay and you walk past 10 signs that hey, buy tickets for this Michael Jackson show. So as long as people are dead, we can forget about what they did, I guess.
I guess I guess. And like, you remember the old phrase? You probably heard the old phrase. You shouldn't speak ill of the dead. Yeah. Why not? If you're a scumbag, like, I'm going to do that.
Well, I mean, so actually I'd be like, you know what, Mussolini, I mean, I don't want to speak ill of the dead.
Kind of, you know, he was misunderstood, you know, he was very misunderstood.
Like, just look, I mean, I know, like, say what you will about Stalin. I don't want to speak ill of the dead.
Right,
I mean, exactly. Like, no, you can't, like, again, and I understand that Joe Paterno is not Mussolini or Stalin.
Right, no.
I mean,
different kind of crime,
different kind of thing. But yeah, it's just kind of weird in the college football sense that like that came up, and I thought like, you know, there's a lot of instances like that you see where it's like, you know what, we like this one thing and we're going to ignore this awful thing so that we can, well, particularly when it comes to something like Michael Jackson 1, we can just bank off of all of this, and no one in there is going to sit there and think like, is this right? Like
the only Michael Jackson show that anybody should remember at this point is Captain EO.
Oh, I was hoping you'd say that.
Captain EO, that's the one. That is the one right there. Like, I mean, this show at the Mandalay Bay. No, I don't feel uncomfortable. But don't you dare get rid of Captain EO. That would be sacrilege.
I don't think Captain EO's at Disney World anymore.
I don't think it is. I think I asked somebody about that. I don't think it is anymore. But man, back in the day.
Well, and the thing is, they made that movie in like 1986. And then,
very old. Yeah,
and then. Until like 2010, it was still a thing you could see. And Michael Jackson was far gone from that.
Man, like, all those people in the black costume, that creeped me out as a kid. I was like, God, what is that? That was creepy.
Directed by George Lucas. So,
I forgot about that.
All right.
Correct.
So, Pierre, the college football playoff expanded to 12. We've got the 5-7 model. Now, after the commissioners met yesterday, nothing changed. But there were a couple of subjects, I'll just call it just the tipped in these discussions. They were just the tipped. And just the tipped were automatic qualifiers for certain leagues, which kind of flies in the face of creating this thing in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, I have a theory on automatic qualifiers. The Big Ten is the one that wants it. The SEC from the beginning said they didn't want it. And the reason I think they still don't want it, and Garrett, tell me if I'm crazy or not.
Okay.
If there is a minimum for more than one league, so say there's a 4-team minimum for the Big Ten like they proposed, which they're never going to get. If there's a 4-team minimum for the SEC and the Big Ten, it means that the SEC will never get to their maximum. Because if you have 4 and 4, that means that the other 4 have to be from the other leagues. So the SEC's master plan and Greg Sankey's whole thing is about proving how dominant and great they are. So if he limits their inclusions to 4, then he can't ever get to the point where he's like, ha, 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 I got 6. Half of these things are mine. They're mine, and I'm better than you. And that's what he wants. So if he agrees to a minimum, he's not ever going to realize his master plan, and that is not how supervillains work.
No, it is not. That I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to say after that, because that was just so perfectly illustrated that, it's funny how it works out that way. For me, and what today I'm reading, it could be 14, and then some people are saying, it could be 16. And in my mind, before this whole expansion talk even started, I think I might have even had a conversation with you about it. I said, I want to see it expanded, but I personally don't need it. I don't need to see it go beyond 8. I thought 8 was probably the best number, because, do I really need to get some of these, mid-tier schools who might have had, a great season? It's like, okay, fine, I guess. But when we're talking up to 14 and maybe even 16, if it gets to that, I know we're at 12 right now. I'm like, and part of me is thinking, you know what? This is where it starts. This is what you say. Okay, like, this is where it starts, and then here we go, and then it's going to start to keep going and going and going. And I thought, I know 4 is the tough number, but like we were saying, the day after the week after, when we talked about, when the top 4 was revealed, and Florida State famously was left on the outside looking in, and what an absolute crime that was. As much as I felt bad for you, my friend, this to me, like, there was just something about the 4 that created the conversation, created talk, created, this whole competitive spirit of trying to get to 4. that I didn't mind so much. But, I don't want the Florida States of the world, a la 2023, to be left out either, because that just was an unjust crime.
Here's where I think, and it's one of those things that's weird. It's a conversation that the powers that be are afraid to have, because they know that it means, again, like they might not always get what they want, because more inclusion means more chance for you to lose. Even if you have, put up all kind of roadblocks, in the way for teams not in the SEC or the Big Ten to win the thing. Like there's so many roadblocks. If you're not one of those two leagues right now, they're roadblocks, clearly. But if you get a team that's crafty and is as good as you, and not to be a homer here, and I'm trying not to be, but Florida State and Clemson in particular represent that, because they recruit, particularly the area that they get SEC talent in the ACC, and so they know that they have those talent, so they don't want, like, if they're not in the club, they don't want them knocking them off, and so keeping them out is one of those things they can do. But if you let them in, Clemson and has proven it, like, you let them in, they can win the thing. So no matter what roadblocks you put up of like this conference or that conference or whatever, if that, one wily team that has the same kind of talent as you gets in, there goes your trophy, right? And so their conversation has always been to like how to have it super elite. And then they're like, oh, it drives conversation and it drives buzz. But do you know what drives buzz in the NFL? The games. Games do. Like when teams play against each other and football happens, when not lobbying, not you and I bitching about something, when football happens, people are like, wow, did you see the football happen? The football was amazing. That was great. This guy did this thing with the ball, and then another guy did another thing with the ball, and then at no point are we talking about like, hey, this guy in a suit said that his thing was better before we even get to the football. No, it's just the football. So people will talk about it because they'll have more football to watch and talk about. That's where they're askew. And for whatever reason, if you bring up anything that's comparative to it, like, I don't know, the NCAA tournament, like once the field is set in the NCAA tournament, once the field of 68 is set, there's a little bit of conversation about like, oh man, boy, Dayton sure got jobbed there. That was unfortunate. I think South Carolina probably deserved to be in. They had a couple good wins late. And then once that Thursday happens, once the ball is tipped, once that happens, we're all about the games. That's all we're about, which is what we want. So, they're afraid of these things they're fake. They're created in their mind.
Yeah. As we're having the conversation in my mind, I'm thinking how much, because this was part of the conversation as well previously, is how much stock or how much do you really put into the conference championship games? I mean, if Georgia is undefeated and loses to a top 5 or a top 10, 11-1 Alabama team, and then suddenly Alabama's in and Georgia's out. But like, if you're playing in the Mountain West, for example, and you win your conference championship, like if you're the conference champion, that's huge for you because you have the opportunity to perhaps be one of the 12, depending on like your overall record. If you're going into the conference championship game in the Big Ten or the SEC and you're undefeated, and it's kind of like, meh, if we lose this conference championship game, then whatever, we're in anyway. What seeding? I don't know, but we're going to be in anyway. So it's kind of a weird, I feel like the conference championship games for the power, what I'm called the Power 4 now, almost feels like it doesn't matter as much, and it matters a lot more for some of these mid-tier conferences. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but that's one of the things that occurred to me as well when this whole format was discussed.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that, there are, there's a lot of good and bad, but like we're going to have more games. That's good. I don't think that I don't like the whole, like the Big Ten should get 4. I mentioned this yesterday, but like if you say that, 2 conferences are going to get this many, well, you might also run the risk that like even in an 18-team league, right? In an 18-team league, you might only have 3 that deserve to go. And that fourth one could be well outside the top 12. And then you, because of your snootiness, have created a new problem. Because you can go through it. Like, that's the other thing that I think big dogs need to realize is that you can go through and like smash buildings like Godzilla all you want. And if they can't stop you, they can't stop you. But the minute that you like take a left turn for principles that are only known to you and all these other people get screwed, including some of the other big boys, you're going to go, well, like what if, so here's the other thing that I don't think Tony Petitti thought of when he asked that was, if you have 4 and 4 of the SEC and the Big Ten, what if some of those teams that you would jump over, if you were 16th, 17th, 18th, are also SEC teams? So then your 4th team is over what could be a much better SEC team that was just on the outside looking in that could have been 14th. And then Greg Sankey's like, oh, well, we were friends, but now we're not. Like, this is why I said this is a bad idea.
Slippery slope, as we said. That's why I feel like, and I realize I say this like kind of like sheepishly. It's like, what the hell do I know? I mean, the powers that be like have a lot more experience, than me, like putting these things together. That's why I thought 8. That's why I keep coming back to 8. I thought 8 was probably the best way to do it. I mean, because do we really need to have, 9-3 Penn State coming in at number 11? Is it really necessary? Do you have to? I don't need the 12th, 11th, and 10th teams. I don't need that to be proven to me as a college football fan. I don't need you to prove to me that these teams are good enough to be at 12, 11, 10, 9. I don't need. Who cares? Make it like it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be hard to get in this tournament. And I don't like it when things are getting made a little bit easier. And these obscure rules, like you say, these new like sets of rules and stipulations. It's like I kind of feel like we're making it up as we go. Part of it is that, but it's like, come on, man. Like, let's get real.
So, one of the other things proposed in the meeting outside of qualifiers was that, maybe 14 or 16. We need to expand it already, dudes. You haven't even done the 12 yet.
Yeah.
You haven't even done it.
Yeah.
You haven't had one committee meeting about teams and the football. Again, that's what gets lost in this. If there's one lesson that we take away from this, is that all of these discussions like fly in the face of games. Like what we're talking about is games. Give us games. Let people play each other. That's what we like. There's a reason that the committee meeting isn't live television, not because it's controversial, because it's effing boring. That's what it is. Like if you said like, all right, well, here's going to be these 15 people in a room talking about various resumes. Now, the nerdiest of the nerds would dive down into it, and journalists would, use it as an educational thing, but it would play almost like a defensive driving class. You're like, I'm here because I have to be. Like, I'm not here because I don't want to learn about blood on the asphalt.
God.
I was
Have
going
you ever had to do one of those too. God, those suck.
The online, I've done the online one. And
I have as well.
The thing about the online one is if it's just about the test, you can be done in about 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's not. So like you finish a section and then you have to sit there with your browser open.
Yeah.
Until it times out to the time. So if it takes you 10 minutes to do it and you still have 30 on the section, you have to sit there for 30 minutes, which is.
I took, 4 hours? It took me about 4 hours online, which was still half the time that it was when I did it in person when I was 18 years old, which sucked.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But anyway, but to not even have that yet, just see how it goes. And look, I think 16 is the number that you can get to where it would be. There's no buys. You'll have more home sites. We can start pushing towards what I think is going to happen, eliminating the bowls. I think that bowls. I don't think you should eliminate the bowls because I do think that they have some value in that for teams that aren't in the playoff. Like we can have these great games that we would never see otherwise and fill the time in between and just play them. But to put them as part of the tournament would be silly to me. Make that. Yeah. Jack's had a great idea about the kind of like a college football NIT inside the bowls, and do that. So to me, yeah,
that's kind of, I think that's a good idea too. It is kind of one of those things. If you're not in the top 16, you still have the the Gasparilla Bowl or whatever that some of these lower tier teams, if you qualify. So I don't see any harm in that, of course. And I'm sure that they would love to have the continued revenue coming in at whatever bowl game you're playing. So I hear what you're saying. They might get rid of maybe a few, but I still think there'll be a place for it. But
I just don't think that like the more you go to like a playoff, if it's a legit playoff, with 12 or 14 or 16 teams. So if it's 16, like the only neutral site game should be at the championship, like the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Like that's what it should be, because college football, and again, they don't play neutral site games in the NFL until the Super Bowl. Like that's the point of the Super Bowl. It's different, Yeah.
It's not like you're going to play the 8-9 game, make it the Holiday Bowl, and then make it the 8-9 game with, whoever as a neutral site. Yeah.
And the NFL playoffs is one of the best television products there is because of what it does. Right. So the Chiefs and Bills, that's the other thing about it that they need to start wrapping their head around when it starts about transit and people going to these games. The Chiefs and Bills aren't going to wind up playing a game in Miami before the Super Bowl just because that's who has that game.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like, if you're going to be more like the NFL, then, take out the stuff that doesn't matter anymore. And look, the bowls got exposed hardcore in the last couple of years, especially this year. When you had FSU quit that bowl game and send out a bunch of true freshmen and walk-ons, and then were perfectly fine taking the worst loss in school history on national television. Right. Then you had Marvin Harrison Jr. go to Dallas, pretend for the whole week like he was going to play in the game, and then go, no, I'm not. Yeah. I never was.
Yeah.
Just wanted a free trip to Dallas.
Right? Yeah. Who doesn't?
So, anyway.
Yeah. It's and like you said, one step at a time, fellas. One step at a time. Yeah. Let's get through this first, and then we'll talk about the expansion later.
Yes, that's why I called it. The Big Ten was just the tipping it.
Let's see. Well said indeed.
Let's see if we like it.
Well said indeed. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. When we come back, we'll have a little bit more time for NFL Draft Rapid Fire today. Garrett loves this game. It's his favorite game.
It's fun.
It's like The Price is Right. Plus, we do need to congratulate the new challenge champion. Do we not, Pierre? Yes.
Oh, I have thoughts.
Yes. I'd like to get your thoughts on this. I'm fine with it. Yes. Was not my first choice, but the second best of the options that we were dealt.
Correct.
In that, because of how the game works. We'll talk about that, and we'll do NFL Draft Rapid Fire next. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Alongside Pierre Noujaim, we have a new viewer who I'm very intrigued by. He goes by RX, which I don't know his prescription. He does not care for FSU. I'll tell you that right now. He believes they had some sort of moral obligation to play in the dog and pony show after,
No.
Like,
I disagree.
Yeah,
but,
no, I listen. Even though like the committee didn't take that dump in my mouth, I tasted it still.
Correct.
So anyway, to something much more, but he does make a lot of good points.
Before you go on, I don't know. You saying RX just automatically made me think of R15. Is R15 still in existence down in Waco? The burger place?
You mean double R?
Or double R. That's what, double R. Yeah, my bad.
Yes. Do you think I would still live here if it wasn't?
Yeah, okay. You know what? I actually got that confused in my head. R15 is actually a bar down in downtown Sacramento, so I inverted my R's.
Yes. Double R. No, one of the best burgers in America.
Terrific. I didn't go there nearly enough, I can tell you that.
No, it's one of the things, like, when people come back, like when I had the wedding reception here this summer, like all the people that came back were like, are we going to carve out some time? I'm like, yeah. I got you. Let's go.
That's what I'm doing when I'm coming back. I can tell you that you and I are going. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I'll take you straight. I'll pick you up and take you straight there if you want.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. All right. So before we get to NFL draft rapid fire, which we'll focus today on the Vikings because you know a lot about the Vikings.
I do. Well, a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you're there.
Yeah.
You've seen them all change clothes, Pierre. You have knowledge. The weirdest thing in our job.
Yeah.
The weirdest thing in our job. I'm going to keep saying it until there's got to be a better way to do it. The NBA, I think the NBA is starting to be like, all right, just let him get ready and we'll take him out there. They don't have that many guys you need to talk to, though. That's the problem. Like the NBA, if you wanted to talk to Karl Anthony Towns, after a game or, whatever, you can just be like, hey, can we get him over here? And then, gotcha.
Then we wait till they get out of the shower. That's their dress. You only need 2, maybe 3 guys tops,
depending on the how the game goes.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So you don't. In the NFL, there could be 15 guys that affected the game. And
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So you've got to somebody's got to get to all of them, and there's this whole mad scramble, and you only have 40 minutes or so once the game's over and the locker room's open and there's a press conference going on and
you can tell guys are getting dressed trying to get out of there before they have to talk to you too. They're trying to.
And the thing is, they're supposed to stay there. They're technically supposed to stay there for the whole time.
Correct.
Theoretically, but there's also an understanding listen, dude, go. You're not.
Yeah.
Nothing, you did well. Nothing happened that we need to talk to you about. Go ahead.
Correct.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, you know about the Vikings, so we'll talk about the Vikings.
Okay.
Since you cover them, but let's talk about the challenge. Emmanuel wins.
Yes. Yes.
I always thought that he and Horacio and Kylan were the 3 that I thought, if any of those 3 are in the final, one of them is going to win.
Mm-hmm.
And, they set it up to where, there was not so much of a male versus female advantage because every time you could have gained ground or lost ground, they would throw a puzzle in there so it would slow you down. So it wasn't just all about brute strength. But I'm happy that Emmanuel won. He was in that whole alliance that rode Jay's coattails a little bit.
Yeah.
But I did say this to Amanda last night. Even though he didn't have to go into elimination, he's one of those guys that no one would call down there anyway. You would never be like, I want him. You're like, nah.
I'm good.
I'll take the guy who sprained his ankle when we were swimming.
I have so many thoughts, and I'm going to try to get through them as fastly as possible. First and foremost, I was fine with Emmanuel winning, although I did find it to be underwhelming in the sense that he wasn't particularly a main staple of the entire season. I've never seen a champion that really does it. Our main staples this season was Jay, Michelle, Nerese. Those were the big 3. And of course I was rooting for Nerese because I would have thought what a story that would have been for her to win the whole thing. I think we need to bring back the individual male and female. I don't love there's only one winner. There's got to be one for the men and one for the women. I think it's probably the most fair way to do it. And last night, I don't know how you feel. In all my years watching this show, there's always been people that have been like, if they win, I'm not going to be thrilled about it, but I'm not, it's not going to make me lose sleep at night. I have never in the history of me watching the show actively rooted against somebody the way I was actively rooting against Corey to win this final. If Corey would have won this final, I would have maybe needed a season break from this show because I've been so infuriated. I've never seen a bigger two-faced leech that somehow snakes his way through this season and provides nothing. A big phony this guy is. It just, the sight of him infuriated me with the way he played this game. And if he would have won, I would have had a mutiny. Like MTV would have had a mutiny on its hands, courtesy of me. Party of one. That's what would have happened. That's what would have happened.
I knew, like, here's what I knew. Like I knew my name, something was going to trip him up. Yeah. And it was two things. One, his paralyzing fear of heights. And I get being afraid of heights. You and I both watched The Amazing Race as well.
Yes.
And people get afraid of heights. I get it. I get it. Here's the thing that would cure me of that fear. Viacom is not going to let me die.
No.
They're not going to. They're not going to let me die. And like, if there's the situation where, like, you know, a falcon comes by and chews my rope while I'm washing a window or climbing down the mountain and I do die, you know what? I mean, that was in the cards, right? Like, that tells you, like, what fate probably is. Like, you were going to go. Today was your day. So, absolutely. Yeah, that kind of just proves, like, I'd hit the rocks and be like, oh, well, that's what the meaning of life is. So Here's my other issue with the final too. Like in the previous section for last week's show, what was the point of pairing them up then and essentially timing them if it had no bearing on stage 3? That's my issue as well. It's like, I know that some people finished last, so you had another elimination, but if you essentially had to rotate them in pairs and individually time them, and it had no bearing on stage 3 because whoever finished stage 3 first was declared the winner. Yeah. Then what was the point of timing them in stage 2? Yeah, I don't know. Amanda asked me that last night, and she's like, does it count? I'm like, it doesn't appear to. It just appears that they have
that's what I was wondering.
Whole new thing. Yeah. And maybe, here's what I do have a theory on some of that. I think that they probably plan on having it done, and then we're like, well, they can't go to sleep. We're like, we got to give them something back. Like, we got to give them something back here. If they can't go to sleep, and we've made them pick all these little cute squares up out of the thing, and it's cold on the, like, they picked the worst, like, of all the places on that, wherever they were, to pick them, like, oh, here's this rocky beach. Like, you can't even walk on it. Like, if you went, like, if you were vacationing there, you'd be like, oh, I can see there's a beach. You'd be like, we're not going to be at this beach.
These finals have started to get a little more convoluted and a little more like poke hole through type of like, well, why does this man, there's got to be some, there's got to be some, you know, reforming of the finals and
I do like the timing out thing. I think they learned that on the Challenge USA where they had all those people and the Sudoku just quit because it was so cold when they could have just timed them out and.
Sudoku, that would have been mine. I'm thinking that. I was like, oh, that's mine right there. Yeah. I would have saved that for last. I can blow through that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Berna did. She cheated.
Talk about man. It was kind of like a little bit of an underwhelming group of finalists outside of Nerys and Emmanuel. After that, it's kind of like, you know, I'm not really intimidated by any of these people.
All right. Let's go NFL draft rapid fire.
Let's do it. Did we lose our audience there for the last 5 minutes?
No, we were fine. Okay, we're fine. Okay, we're just losing time. So, MC Gusto says that you need some sleep.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. You do.
That you do.
I do?
Yeah.
I do? Yeah. Or they do? Oh, I do. No, hey, MC, that's just the way my eyes look, but thank you very much. That's fine. Yeah.
This must be a common criticism of you, Pierre. If you responded that quickly.
I had 2 years ago, I had a woman come up to me and asked if it was like, you look like you got a shiner. I was like, what do you mean? It's like, look like someone punched you in the face. I was like, no, that's just how my face looks. So then I keep walking.
Here's the thing. It's good news because, like, somebody did. And guess what? I'm here.
Right. That's right. And that's right, and that's why I wear makeup on TV. I'm not on TV right now. I could start wearing makeup on this show, but it's like, you know, it feels like a lot of effort.
You wouldn't. Here's the thing. Garrett's the only one who wears makeup in here, and that's not even for TV. It's just so he feels right.
Yes. Got to feel good about myself.
Oh, yeah.
No. Okay. The Vikings are at 11.
Yeah.
they have a conundrum when it comes to quarterback right now. Do you re-sign Kirk Cousins, which is the path of least resistance, at least roster building wise? Now, financially, and again, he's been hurt. Kirk is a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. Once interviewed him at the Super Bowl in Houston at the Puppy Bowl where we were both holding golden retrievers, which was a wonderful opportunity and great day. But when I'm glad it wasn't on video. Well, it was on video for the Puppy Bowl. They taped it and put it on their site. Okay. But I was just doing audio. But I had the lady, I had to hold the puppy. So the lady was holding my mic going back and forth like this. But they have to do that. And then they pick 11th, which means they probably, to guarantee they get the quarterback they would want, truly want, their favorite one, they would have to trade up, which means future draft capital, probably present draft capital, and other things. What should they do? Stay at 11 and deal with whatever it is? I mean, because that means that they're looking at maybe J.J. McCarthy, who is very widely debated, Michael Penix or Bo Nix. And Penix, I think I'd be fine with, except for the injury history.
Yeah. It's funny that you asked that because we have this podcast that we do every week called First and North for Fox. We discuss every team in the NFC North. And I was on the podcast this week and we had this very discussion. And after, Paul, as you know, after decades of watching Miami Dolphins football and knowing what a team in purgatory looks like when you're in between that 7-9 win situation and you're not bad enough to get yourself an upper echelon quarterback in the draft and you're not good enough to make the postseason, when you're in that no man's land, you stop trying to call it a competitive rebuild and just hit the reset button as fast as you possibly can. You will thank yourself later. My feeling on it is I like Kirk Cousins. I think he's a good quarterback. He was playing he was on his way to a Pro Bowl season before he tore his Achilles last year. But we kind of know this. The rest of the team has to be really good around him. And the rest of the team can't really be all that good around him if you're going to be paying him a lot of guaranteed money, which reportedly the Vikings don't want to do. They want to try to get a little bit of a hometown discount with him because they want to try to bring him and Justin Jefferson back on the same team, which would exclude Danielle Hunter because they're not going to be able to afford him at that price either. So my feeling on the matter is, just rip the Band-Aid off now. I know you're not in a good spot at 11. And if you don't bring Kirk Cousins back, do you want to pay Justin Jefferson record-setting money? Is that how you want to spend your financial resources if the quarterback that he wants to be there is not there to begin with? I think we've seen the ceiling for what the Vikings are with Kirk Cousins at quarterback. And I know you're not in a good spot at 11, but I think the time is now. It has to start now. Don't wait to do it later. Don't come back to me next year and say, hey, you know what? We bounced back from 7-10 and now we're 10-7. And we really maxed out the team in a divisional appearance before losing to the 49ers or whoever. I was just so what? You're in the same spot as the team that's drafted in the top 5. Who cares that you maxed out the division? Rip the Band-Aid off now. No, I would not take JJ. I don't think JJ McCarthy is a first-round talent whatsoever. I really don't. So if you want to dangle Justin Jefferson out as trade bait and move into the top 3 and see if you can get yourself a franchise quarterback, it's an option as well.
Yeah, that's the problem. When you have a receiver, a player that's that good, that stands nearly alone in his talent, because that's how good Justin Jefferson is. He is, in the debate for the top 1 in the league.
Yes, correct.
It's him and Jamar Chase. And I love CeeDee Lamb, and I think he's in the discussion.
Tyreek Hill maybe as well.
But but I think CeeDee Lamb and Debo live in this category that's they're great players. Yeah. But when it comes to if you had to have them or Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, you might be look, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Agreed completely.
I have to go here. So. And Garrett's a big Justin Jefferson fan. Oh yeah, because he's an LSU guy.
Yes, of course.
I kind of think I'm with Pierre here on this, where outside of Justin Jefferson and T.J. Hawkinson, who's a really elite tight end. I mean, what are you talking about on that roster that you could not rebuild over time?
And TJ Hawkinson's not going to be ready for training camp after the knee surgery.
Yeah.
He's probably very unlikely he's going to be ready for training camp. And I say this because it's not because I'm not a believer of Kirk Cousins' talent. Like, I don't mind. I'm okay. I'm much higher on Kirk Cousins than I think a lot of other people are. But it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense given his age, given the money he's going to command, and given the way the rest of this team is built as of right now. It just doesn't make sense to me. It does not make sense to me to commit that kind of money to him.
You have a young GM, you've got a young coach, you've got like you're set up all around everybody but Justin Jefferson to rebuild. And look, even if like, here's the thing, even if you decide like, okay, we're going to rebuild and we're going to build it around Justin Jefferson, essentially, you got to get him on board about like, hey, look, it might be rough. Like, it might be, you might be Gardner Minshew and like guys like that for a year or so. You know, we might draft somebody if we like them. You know, if they got Michael Penix at like 43, I think that's their second round pick. If they got Michael Penix at 43, that's something I think I can work with. You know, if you draft JJ McCarthy in the second round, that's probably something you can wrap your head around. I like Penix. I like Penix a lot. I mean, and again, I would think Penix would not even be a question as a top 5 pick if we're not talking about 4 season-ending injuries in his career. I mean,
I think that's fair.
Yeah, but again, you can't just. That's one of the criticisms that you can't just discount because you're like, well, the guy got hurt a lot, but when he had an offensive line that wasn't awful, he didn't get hurt at all. So you know, I mean, he get beat up by Michigan, but you know, he wasn't season-ending hurt.
You said it perfectly. Right now, the Vikings are only set at 2 positions: left tackle and wide receiver. Essentially, that's it. After that, everything is up for debate. Everything. Yeah. So it's like rip the Band-Aid off now and try to get a head start on a rebuild. Stop trying to call it and mask it as a competitive rebuild. Mm-hmm. You're going to be stuck in no man's land. That 7 to 9 win area is a place you don't want to be. You're stuck in the mud. You're not going anywhere. You're just not.
Let somebody else make the mistake of bringing Kirk Cousins in or Russell Wilson or whatever. You know, and here's the other problem. You've got the Lions who are set up to have really nice little run here for a couple years. You've got the Packers who look like they are once the Packers fix their offensive line and get like a couple pieces on defense, they're back to who they were. I mean, they really look like they are. And then the Bears are about to draft Caleb Williams. You know, like you've got all these things, like you've at least got the Bears in a rebuild position too. Don't fall behind all 3 of them because you're like, no, we think we can win.
Right.
You know,
I think they already have, in my opinion, and I'm with you. I think they already have. Right now, you're looking at the other 3 teams, and you're thinking to yourself, which teams do we like better than the Vikings? Well, all of them. I can make a case easily for all of them as to why Minnesota doesn't really have a bright future in the next couple of years unless they hit on a franchise quarterback in the draft. Mm-hmm. That's the only way.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Pierre, we'll see you on Monday.
Can't wait, guys.
Yes. All right. That's Pierre Noujaim, Fox 9 Minneapolis. Check out their podcast on the Vikings and everything else that they do.
Hey, so we do quality work here in Minnesota. Let's go with that.
You do.
Yeah.
Just they should have one called the Ludafisk podcast. You know what Ludafisk is?
I think you might have to explain that one to me, but I think I know what it is, but you have to double check.
So I learned this from Andrew Zimmern, who I've had on the show a couple times. Actually comes to Waco a lot now because his production company's here. But he did Bizarre Foods, and there's a food in Minnesota, Wisconsin, like those like Norwegian areas called lutefisk, which is this fish that they soak in lye and then de-poison it by dragging it through salt. It's like a salted fish. And this is a dude who's eating like pig intestines on the street in Bali. And that's the worst thing he's ever had.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Ringing endorsement.
Yeah. Yeah. That, and I saw an Instagram he did recently about the McRib. Like he had finally had a McRib, he had it and he was like, he just slammed it to the ground. Right. And I was thinking, like, if you're the McRib and you see this guy, like, this isn't just some, like, you know, millennial that's like, never had the McRib before. Here's what all the hype's about. Oh, it's gross. This is a dude who, honestly, he's been in, like, you know, sub-Saharan Africa eating bugs out of the dirt and is like, you know what? Give me those dirt bugs.
Yeah, that fish sucked. Yeah, that fish really sucks.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Pierre, we'll see you Monday.
Can't wait, guys.
All right, we've got Max Olson coming up on the show, Graham Coffey coming up on the show, Mickey Spagnola coming up. This is 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private